All right. All right, tile friends, we've got another great interview with Jason McDaniel. Jason is joining us all the way from Portland, Oregon, the city that keeps things weird. And let's see how weird we can get with Jason today. Jason is a tile installer with a stone background, and his nickname is the StoneMan. I will invite him up right now, and we will ask him how he got that nickname. Hello, Jason.
Brother.
Good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you too, boss.
How are you today?
Doing pretty good, man. You know, just did some waterproofing on a job and was looking forward to having a conversation with you. So here we are.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time. Why don't you introduce yourself, where you're at, and show us some of that stuff on the wall where you got that awesome name.
Okay, cool. Jason McDaniel, StoneMan Construction, also known as the StoneMan. Tile setter here in Portland, Oregon. I am 2018 Rockstar recipient, which very proud of that. Certified tile installer up there, number 1273. I am also a CTEF evaluator. I've got some more training to do to be able to keep doing that, but looking forward to doing that. I'm an NTCA state ambassador. So the StoneMan name, which I don't know if anybody's actually ever officially asked me where that came from, but it goes back about 13 years when I started my business. I was a stone fabricator, and I have a friend, Marcia and Mark. They were kind of mentors helping me start my business. And one day Marcia said, Jason, you know, you got to have a business name. And I said, I don't know, you know, I don't know what to call myself, you know? Yeah. And so next thing I knew, she said StoneMan Construction. And I thought at the time, I said, man, that is a really stupid name. But, you know, interestingly enough, you know, as time goes on and then of course you find the forums and you get into doing what I'm doing now, the StoneMan. I mean, I you know, nicknames, I always say there's a thing, no self-glossing, right? You cannot give yourself a nickname. Like I think I dubbed you Luke Money Miller, right? So that's, you can't self-gloss. And so I feel really proud and privileged to be called the StoneMan, and I've enjoyed it a lot. But behind me, you know, we've got, this is where I do some of my YouTube stuff. You know, I've got the Don't Be a Donkey GTP. I've got my StoneMan license plate back there, and nice little place for all the hats.
Looking good.
Here.
Looking good.
Yeah, pretty cool, man. Pretty cool.
Well, that's great. I love your YouTube channel. That's coming along really nice. Of course, huge supporter of GTP, Global Tile Posse on Facebook group. What keeps you motivated, Jason? What, you know, you're always so pumped up. You know what? I know it's not easy being the StoneMan. It's not that easy. Tell us what's going on.
Oh man, you know what keeps me motivated? You know, I think really, and I've been talking a lot about this lately. I talked to Anthony Moses a little bit about it. You know, obviously when you get to a certain point in tile, you know, we've achieved a lot, right? I mean, there's nothing, a lot of us, in my opinion, I'm not afraid of much. You know, it doesn't matter what I'm working on. I'm just not afraid to do it. So what's motivating me right now is a 64th of an inch. I've been saying this a lot. I am motivated by absolute perfection when I'm installing from start to finish. It's a 64th of an inch. And you know, also Luke, you know, I think you and I are in a really, you know, we're in a special place where we get private messages from people and people ask for advice and ask for help. That's a really motivating thing, to be in a position where, you know, you're sought after for advice and for, you know, somebody to, you know, they ask you, hey, how can I do this? And, you know, can you help me with this? I get a lot of those questions. And I tell you what, it's about the most motivating thing in the world to know that people think of you that way. And, you know, so I've been really enjoying kind of the change in my life since Global Tile Posse and getting to hang out with you and meet you. And, yeah, that's what motivates the StoneMan these days.
That's cool, man. And I know you're doing a real nice job with your instructional videos and really passionate about that. So it's nice to see the drive there. And as Dan
Thank you.
Costanza was saying, you know, that's what we need right now. We need
Right.
to encourage one another and train one another, you know, from within the industry, really. And that's what you're doing. So congratulations and good job. Keep it up, man. What are
Thank
some
you.
challenges that people don't know about doing that kind of stuff? What are some myths, you know?
Yeah. You know, I mean, it's a challenge I mean, there are times where when somebody asks me a question, or, you know, like I have to believe in myself, you know, I have to believe that I'm the right person, to be asking, you know, if somebody's asking me for help, I have to believe that I'm the right person for that. You know, there are times where I feel like, you know, why are they asking me, you know, and self-doubt is a very difficult thing. And I recently said, know your worth. Right.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've been thinking about as I'm going through some personal stuff, because that applies to everything in life. My mom has always said, you really need to know your worth, you know your value. So it is hard. It's a challenge sometimes I find it a challenge to always follow through.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you right now, there are people out there that I owe shirts and hats and trowels and stickers and things. And that, to me, I want to be a man of my word. You know, I want to be somebody that, you know, if somebody asks me for help, or if they say, hey, you know, can I get a sticker or some swag? I want to be somebody that honors that. And I can't tell you that I'm the greatest at that, right, Luke? Because I'm trying to run a business. You know, I've got employees and I've got things to do, and that in and of itself is a lot of work. So a big challenge is always following through and keeping my word. And that's something that that I need to own and be better at. And I would say that's probably one of the biggest challenges of all of it.
Yeah. No, it's not easy. It's funny you mentioned the swag and stuff. I was just sending out some shirts this morning that I had actually promised quite a while ago, and I'm finally getting around to it. So it's definitely always something. You know, you're striving.
It's part of it, man. It's part of it.
What? Tell me about the funniest job site story, or the worst experience, your favorite experience. What kind of job site experience?
Oh man, let me think about that. You know, I think my worst. I had a bad experience on a job yesterday, and I'm still working through that mentally. You know, I was disappointed in what the job site looked like when I got there, and I'm just being totally transparent, right? I mean, that's part of these interviews is to just be honest. I struggle with coming to a job site and having it not be as tidy as I would like it to be, especially, you know, we're a reflection of, you know, I mean, people are paying attention to us, right? And we're doing videos and we're posting and we're doing things. I mean, it's a reflection of the company. If you show up to a job site and it's a mess and it doesn't look good, and I can't tell you that I always handle that with my guys very well. You know, funny job site stories. Since I'm standing here and I think that shirt over there says, let me finish. Yeah. And I always thought that this to me is always a funny job site story because it happens a lot. So I'm going to try to make this quick, but you know, here you have a company, StoneMan Construction. I mean, if you get around me and you work with me, you understand that I feel perfection at every turn. And I really want the job to go that way. So we have this customer. She was great. We did this amazing master bath renovation. I was the GC on it, hired the plumber, electrician, floor heat, big Schluter, linear drain, tileable, great. I did some really cool custom hex work and some scribing. And so here we have this job where the entire job, we're covering every single base. And the customer, you know, they see us just grinding and really following through on everything. So the job's coming to an end and we still had caulking to do, right? So of course you've got these inside corners and change of plane that doesn't have any grout in it, right? So I walk in and here's this customer, and we had got to be pretty tight. Like they're my friends. Yeah. She's standing in the corner by the change of plane in the corner, and you can see her like shaking and like, you know, like scratching her face and, you know, doing all this stuff because she's so freaking nervous about whatever she wants to say. Yeah. And so of course I stand there and I'm looking at her and I'm like, Vanessa, everything okay over there? You know? And she kind of like points to the corner and she was like, Jason, so is this gonna stay like this? Is something gonna happen? And I said, I lost it. I was like, you have got to be freaking kidding me. Like, we have done all this work in your house. We've covered every single, what have we not done in here? And I said, do you really think I'm gonna leave an unfinished dark line in the corner? So that's where, and then I looked at her and I said, Vanessa, let me finish. And so that's where the hashtag let me finish came from. And it was fantastic. I ended up getting both her and her husband some let me finish shirts and some stickers. And I think that those are the funniest stories when you can tell that a customer is really nervous and they don't know like what's going to happen, you know? And I realize it doesn't matter how good a job you do. You know, if a customer has had a bad experience in the past, they're always going to bring that baggage to the next contractor. So I don't know if that's as funny as I think it is.
It is actually super funny because I've been in that very similar situation, and I think everybody listening has as well. You know, I do want to talk about one more thing here. You know, RX sponsored today's event, and I know you have a good relationship with those guys. And then anybody who wants to throw a Q&A up, now's the time. Go ahead and throw a question up for Jason here, and we will get to those as well. Tell me a little bit about that floating system. And you know, we don't need to go into necessarily the details, but I know that system came from Ardex. And it came from Europe. It's not necessarily.
It came from I got in trouble a little bit because if whoever knows who I am, which you might not know who I am or whatever, but I just jump on a live video like it's nothing, right? So I'm like, hey, check us out here. You know, we're doing this deck, and look at all this badass stuff. And you know, of course, I get a text from William a little bit later, and he's like, hey, Jason, you can't do that. And I'm like, oh, well, okay, you know? And so, honestly, with exterior stuff, which I'm getting to know exterior stuff a little better, a lot of that is, you know, you have doors and elevations, right? So sometimes, you know, so we had a door at that job. That was the job that I did, the big marble master. I wasn't spec'd to do those decks, and the decks were already waterproof. We couldn't render them. We couldn't fix them. You had to have it had to have airflow. So really, we were limited to what we could do. And William White, you know, Ardex, Aaron Chafee, John Esteve, Dan Costanza, who you just interviewed, is a very, very close friend of mine. You know, they said, hey, I think we might have an option here. So we got the Gutierrez KP Plus drainage mat system. I got to tell you, I felt very honored and privileged to be able to work with that product. But I said this before. I just had a thing with ZBiz yesterday, and I talked about this.
Okay.
That is not, that kind of project, Luke, is not for everybody. You know, if you're somebody who isn't just dotting all your I's and crossing all your T's, you shouldn't be doing a job like that. So it was an awesome, awesome project. We actually signed 3 more of those decks here in the Portland market. So cool. It's really great to be one of the first to work with the product. And, you know, big shout out to William and Aaron and Dan for all the help. Ardex was there with me throughout the entire thing. As you may know, Luke, that whole system is a soft joint system.
Yeah.
So we had about 10,000 linear feet of silicone.
Unbelievable. You know, and I think the principle here that I really wanted to drive home, and I think you're going to back me up, is communication with your reps, with these companies, because talk about a situation where it looks impossible, and instead of turning it down, how about making that phone call? And the only way you're going to make that phone call with confidence is if that rep knows you as a person, as an individual. Something I didn't do. I never did enough. And you know, now I've been learning all my mistakes because I've been interviewing all the best of the tile contractors, you know, and we say know your rep and stuff. But when you posted that live video, and this was only, you know, a month or 2 ago, when you posted that, it hit home. It was like, that's why you need to be talking to your reps on a weekly basis,
for sure.
because they're going to
Yeah.
help you win jobs that you would have never had a chance to even bid on,
Yeah, that particular project, it really saved our year. I mean, here you have the coronavirus going around, and the customers happen to be the greatest people ever. Gore's Construction now I mean, they are going to hire us for tile work because I have to say that as a crew, we really pulled something off there. I mean, Luke, working over a substrate that you can't fix. And we did a border herringbone pattern. I mean, it's like, why don't you just throw every difficult thing you can throw for a tile application into one little 1,500 square foot area and say, go tile that, son. So I think that we learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about, I really learned that I need to stop. I need to act and not react. And I still react a lot where something happens and I'm just like, instead I need to kind of take a step back and say, the customers there, they saw me out on that deck looking around at times, and they would come out and they'd say, everything okay, Jason? And I'd be like, yeah, everything's fine, when really I just wanted to be like, no, this sucks. So, I think that I learned a lot about trying to take a deep breath, man. Take a deep breath. You
got to get into some yoga or meditation classes over there in Portland.
Thank you. I definitely do, for sure. Hey, Luke, I want to mention something, because is it okay if I say something about something that we have going on with Ardex? And is that okay? Real quick? Okay. Thank you. So I wanted to talk about this. I'm not supposed to do a lot of talking about it, but I have to say that this is something that has affected me, because I had a trip planned, as you know, to travel across the United States with Ardex, GoBoard, IQ, DTA Tools, maybe Helix, and some other companies, where I was going to travel around the United States and set tile with people all over the country. I want to say that was put on hold because of the coronavirus. I was planning on, Luke, coming out and hanging out with you for a week or two. But I'm going to say this: as soon as we are cleared to go, I'm going. And I hope that there's people out there that will allow me to come to their job site, hang out, set some tile, talk tile, have some fun. I wanted to get that out there, because for anybody that's, Luke, you and I have talked about it, anybody that's heard me talk about this trip, I want everybody to know it is not canceled. It's just on hold. We're trying to do our part here, save lives, stay home. We're trying to do that. But I wanted to get that out there just so everybody knows that I'll be coming to a city near you
Right
soon.
on, brother. I appreciate you saying that, and I'm looking forward to watching you on that trip and getting to know you. And I know you're going to have a lot of fun. So once again, thank you for the time, Jason, and sharing some tips and knowledge with us. We're going to get back to networking. Thank you, Ardex, for sponsoring today's event. We've got about 10, 15 more minutes on the clock for networking, and we'll wrap it up there. Any final words, Jason?
No, hey, Luke, I think what you're doing is amazing. I've really enjoyed watching you and your presence in the industry over the last couple of years. I remember meeting you for the first time a couple of years ago, and I have to say that as a tile family and a tile community, we are all very, very lucky to have you doing what you're doing. I think you're an incredible ambassador for this trade. So I am always here for you, brother. You know that. You're family to me. So keep doing what you're doing. Much love. Posse up. Ardex is king.
Brother. Take it easy.
Thanks.